It is now my pleasure to get tonight's reading started by introducing our first reader, poet Kelly Hansen Maher. Kelly is a poet, playwright, and prose writer living in Northeast Minneapolis, where she was raised. She has a background in theater, and so naturally, what does one do with a background in theater but attend the University of Minnesota Law School? So there's a lot of similarities between theater and the courtroom, don't you think? For the past several years, she has worked in legal publishing, which she has just recently left. As you might tell from someone who worked in theater, attended law school, and entered an MFA program, Kelly likes to take on multiple projects. She is currently working on 2 poetry manuscripts as well as a nonfiction manuscript, and she has a 6-year-old in addition to that. Please welcome the multitasking Kelly Hansen Maher.
Thank you, Jared. And thanks to the Loft and my mentors and the participants and the other participants in the series. And thank you all for being here tonight. I've seen a lot of friends and neighbors and colleagues and teachers and my husband, and it's a really good night. Many of the poems in my first collection, which is still a work in progress, deal with a sad personal history, in addition to the beautiful 6-year-old daughter that we have, which Jared mentioned. My husband and I have endured several unexplained pregnancy losses as well. In particular, many of the poems I'll read tonight are drawn from the loss of a second daughter who was still at 21 weeks. I try to locate these losses in a natural landscape as a way to give form to something that's really ambiguous, a death without a birth. And in one string of poems, I use loon calls to sequence grief. So I'll read 2 of my loon poems, along with some others from my first collection in the making. The first poem is called Tremolo Duet, and the tremolo is one of the 4 loon calls. It's the one that sounds like hysterical laughter, where the phrase crazy as a loon comes from. And the loon makes this call to announce its arrival on a lake or when it is alarmed. Tremolo Duet. When the second daughter was removed, the body still stinging and milky, the spouses reached into, I can't explain it, a plum-colored sky. I say sky because it had infinite shape, but was also close. Spouses dipped their hands, found solace. That place of dissolve into, what does it look like? What sounds from its mouth? The insides of shadow eyelids, backs of pillows, lilt of grim Vicodin, wife reclining on the couch, legs like long highways, husband's fingers, wife's itchy scalp, enough equals enough. Could determine, not to determine, could let it. They had the first daughter, lovely as, and she had a dead sister. There comes plum sky again, lush, like inside a genie's lamp. But where? Starless, trace of bruise. Did they all burn off the violet like orange lava? Did they calcify and intertwine? The spouses through a year drove north to birch and jack pine, packed a civilization into a lightweight canoe, bore it. They saw the purple night and the mosquitoes. They laughed wild blueberries, laughed water from their eyes. The Loon and the Ocean. Cycle the year to the open Atlantic. Transparent sleeves over the loon's eyes close the salt away. There was once a spring, ago, an iris, then fall aster, then all the fresh water. I remember last summer, but I'm not sure the loon does. maybe there's a small picture the loon sees when it longs for a certain temperature, popped as a locket, showing middle depths of a northern lake where her beak takes a frog, her beak a hungering arrow. How does the loon experience memory? Image as gradation, cold to cool, salt to tin, direction as migration, earn, surrender. The ocean doesn't exist as memory because here is, though of course it's all happened before. Winter surf crashes, echoes off the cove, and it is so constant, so loud, it loots the tremolo from her body. Her sorry wing makes her mute as the year-round kelp. There is no ocean. There is no ocean. There is only ocean. There is only ocean. How does a loon remember anything about me? Sonogram. I can bring it right back to the body. Longer from palm base to fingertip, her string of perfect vertebrae, beads curved and aligned, how white the bone sings over the grain of soft tissue. My love is there, a father, asking, why are there still red and blue oxygen trails, still taking, still giving, when her system is not pulsing? It's okay, he says on a whisper, as if speaking to me, but really to prayer, willing future far into long years to be present in this room, to act for us in the now as a salve leached from the later mind, the older heart, not is, but will be, not it, but we. Probably prophecy has no effect here, fails on a deaf subject. This dumb, empty day walks me out of the hospital in picture screens of curled leaves, her pearled mammal spine still inside me, still my expected. It's been 4 years, and every year the summer ends. And the crows that circled overhead still bid me to my Winifred. From out the city, the boulevard elms, go north, get off the grid, go, ford the feeder rivers. Although internal, she was animate, provoked, got so close, in limb, almost proved sister of my daughter, raven-haired to her wheat. She was not set in constellation. There is no stone, there is no snow, there is no site for me to go to mourn her. But all of it. The miles and the slanted light of long weekends, the great lake, the shouldering falls, coldly thundering the birch, hers, all the fauna, all the fur, hers, all the arms, all the sturdy trunks. Co-sleeping. Accepting the rise and fall of boxcars heaving across the city, our industrial neighborhood, old neighborhood, in which immigrants studying for citizenship exams named the streets in the order of the presidents. Trains make their slow move uphill, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, measuring each breath taken, the newborn on my chest. Her very small head in the dark room, nose and mouth open, sleeping. We stir. We are steady as train yards. Lids flutter. I hear insects at the open window, the out and in of her breath, my husband's deep twitching, the dog's snore, our bed. Smells of human milk, which is lean of fat and protein, so that she will wake frequently and want me. She has this one country. I'm on an incline, never fully prone, kept my word, kept her head above the blankets on the pillow of my arm, kept her face to the air of the room all spring, all summer. It's before dawn when the light in the room doesn't change, but the trains have stopped rolling over the narrow bridges. The birds must know, the pale yellow beyond the yard. What first birds? Chickadees or sparrow or thrush? I have small dreams all night. It's a covenant to keep her breathing. Her new system in delicate crating at the rail of my clavicle. She'll track with me, start again after stopping. I don't miss depth, tuned from sleep, Lincoln, Johnson, Ulysses. Anything could happen to her in that other room without me, and God help me, there will be no more death in this house. Fourth in earth. We'll still openly devour the soil, then what became of us? Flung to the wind, incinerated, compost to the bin? It wasn't how I wanted it. My garden is a wreck. It's a dead yard, but I want it to flourish in food and color and worms with their 5 pairs of hearts. Freya pulls them to palm without flinching, allows one to dry out and die, lets some bore, some surface, her arbitrary afternoon. Yes, I warn against cruelty, but was the dog cruel when it wrestled the rabbit limp, left it half-skinned in the vegetable bed? 5 hearts coupled in eyeless lines, pumping tunnel-shaped castings. This is not a garden to watch from the window. I don't witness seasons change. I know the hour-by-hour saturation of the soil, am in participation. And if there is an iris, one is dark at the rhizome, and one is piercing, and didn't the heavy peony fall to me in peels of pale, tender lunches? For my last poem tonight, I have a short poem, and it's actually a poem for my husband, Jason. It's an anniversary present, since tomorrow is our 11th wedding anniversary. My husband is a bird watcher, and birders keep what's called a life list to document all the species of bird that they see over the course of their life. Life list. Once he was, of course he was, a boy who would become a man, who lures birds to his view, celebrates their distinctions, names them, goes into their woods and suffers the tick's bite and its years of confounding ailments, all for the bird not yet seen, and the song, the crown, the bird he'd only ever read about. Thank you so much.